Okay, good afternoon everyone. Welcome back. Am I audible? Can we start? Just give me a thumbs up if I'm audible. Done. Let's continue then. Next, law of supply. Law of demand is done. Next one is law of supply. Now, what is the law of supply? As usual, please understand supply in the market. That is, let's say hypothetically you're a manufacturer. The supply in the market depends on multiple factors, right? For example, what is the availability of raw materials, right? How much is the taxation, right, etc. There are multiple factors which will determine how much goods and services you want to supply in the market. In the same way, like we have discussed the law of demand, there is one more law, that is law of supply. Law of supply simply states that if all the other factors remain unchanged, same, first part of the statement is same. In case of law of demand, if all the other factors remain unchanged, same. Even in case of law of supply, if all the factors remain unchanged and only the price of the commodity changes, price of the product changes, then the demand for the good will also change, but in the same direction. That is, in the same direction. What do you mean by this? If the price of the good in the market goes up, the supply in the market also goes up. Let me know if you are finding it difficult. Again, we are talking about supply here, not demand. We are talking about supply. So what does the law of supply state? If all the factors remain unchanged, that is, let's say change in the technology, right, or let's say the cost of labor, cost of raw materials, etc., etc., nothing will change. Price of the product will change. If the price of the product changes, the supply of the product also changes in the same direction. Can I write positively related? Let me know. Can I write directly related or positively related? In case of law of demand, the price and demand were inversely related. In law of supply, the price and supply are positively related or directly related. That is, both are moving in the same direction. If price goes up, supply goes up. If price goes down, supply also goes down. Any difficulty, let me know. This is called as law of supply. Now, why does it happen? Argument is simple. Why does it happen? Why is that in case of law of demand, price goes up, demand goes down. In law of supply, price goes up, supply also goes up. Why? Let me start with law of demand first. In case of law of demand, whenever the price goes up, I'll write it in the previous slide so that you understand I'm talking about the law of demand. In case of law of demand, what generally happens is, whenever the price goes up, the quantities that you can purchase, will go down. Let me explain it. Imagine you have 100 rupees. Price of the product is, let's say, 20 rupees. You have 100, price of the product is 20. Can I simply say that you will be able to purchase 5 units of the product? Right? Simple C-set calculation I'm using. You have 100, price of the product is 20 rupees per unit. How many units you can purchase? 5 units you can purchase. Now imagine the price of the product goes up from 20 rupees to, let's say, 25 rupees. Same 100 rupee. Price of the product goes up to 25 rupees. Now what do you think will happen to the quantity? How many units can you purchase? The units that you can purchase automatically will go down. Now what is the relation that you're finding here? The price goes up, and as a result of this, demand for the good will go down. Any difficulty, let me know. I'm talking about law of demand, by the way. Price goes up and the demand will go down, right? You will see an inverse relation between both of them. That is one reason why the law of demand, right, actually behaves in this way. Second, substitution. People will go for substitution. What is this idea of a substitution? We have discussed tea and coffee. Before the break, we have discussed tea and coffee. Now, simple question to you people. If the price of the tea goes up, will you not substitute tea with coffee? Right? Simple logic. If the price of the tea goes up, people will substitute tea with coffee, which means the demand for tea will go down. The demand for tea will go down. So price goes up, demand goes down. So these are some of the reasons that you will see the price and demand are inversely related in case of law of demand. Now in case of law of supply, right, in the context of law of supply, both are directly related, right, not inversely, directly related. That is, as the price of the product goes up, as the price of the product goes up, the supply also goes up. Now why? Why does it happen? When the price goes up, supply also goes up. Now let's take a very simple example. This is the marker. You're manufacturing the marker. Is the marker visible to all of you? Let me know. Is the marker visible to all of you? And nobody wants to answer. Only 2 people have answered. Others? Sir, you keep on teaching, we'll keep on snoring. Right? Economics, Saturday afternoon, I had a stomach full lunch. So you keep on teaching, I'll keep on snoring. Just ensure that you will not wake up your neighbors. Okay? Let's start. So this is a marker. Right? Imagine you are basically incurring a cost of 80 rupees, labor, raw material, technology, etc. And then you want to earn a profit of 20 rupees. Now you want to sell it in the market at 100 rupees. Again, this 80 rupee includes taxes by the government as well. Now let's say hypothetically, rather than selling it in the market, you are selling it at 105 rupees. Price has gone up, 105 rupees. Labor cost doesn't change. Taxes do not change. Nothing else changes, which means it will remain same 80 rupees. As a result of this, what will happen to profit? Don't you think the profit that you're going to earn because of the sales has gone up? Right? Is it logical or not? Right? Because taxation does not change. Cost of transportation, no, doesn't change. Labor does not change. Raw material do not change. Nothing changes. Price goes up. As a result of this, the profit motive also has gone up. Now imagine you are the manufacturer. You are the seller in the market. Rather than earning 20 rupee, now you are earning 25 rupee profit. Will you supply more or less in the market? You answer to me now. Will you supply more or lesser in the market? Obviously, in order to earn more and more profit, you will increase the supply. You will basically take up the supply. Right? So does it make sense or not? Price goes up, supply goes up as per law of supply. Price goes up, demand goes down as per law of demand. So these are the 2 laws. Just remember it. Now, right, how do we represent the law of a supply? Law of supply is a line which is moving upwards. Law of supply always moves upwards. Again, please understand. Sir, can we apply this law of supply for every commodity? Let me ask you this. I'll give an example and you answer. Right? Law of supply should not be applied. It is not universally applicable to all the commodities. Are there any exceptions? Of course, yes. Right? Of course, yes. Right now, in the context of, let's say, agriculture commodity, imagine you have cultivated vegetables. Imagine you have cultivated vegetables. Now, simple question to you people. Do you think you can store the vegetables for 1 year? Just think of it. Do you think you can store the vegetables for, let's say, 20 days, 30 days, 50 days? But on the other hand, if you manufacture this pen, can you store it for 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, etc.? So remember that. Point number 1. Second point, price of the vegetable. Right? Have a look at this. Price of the vegetable goes down. Imagine, right? Price of the vegetable goes down. If you apply the law of supply, right? If you basically take the law of supply, if the price of the vegetable goes down, what should happen to the supply of the vegetables? Supply of the vegetables should also go down. But do you think it is practically possible? Just think of it. Do you think it is practically possible? Practical in the sense, you have cultivated certain vegetables, prices are low, can you hold on to the vegetables? I'll use a technical term here. These are perishable goods. These are perishable. Perishable means these will become spoiled very, very soon. You cannot store it for a longer duration. Right? So the argument is simple. Can you apply the logic of law of supply in every commodity? Again, no. Just as in the case of law of demand, there are certain exceptions even in the context of law of supply. Right? So these are the two laws. Any exceptions to both of these laws? These are some of them. Let's start. First one is availability of substitutes. One of the reasons the law of demand is applicable is because there is a substitute. For example, I took tea and coffee, and I told you that if the price of the tea goes up, okay, price of the tea goes up, the demand for coffee should also go up. But what if I were to say that substitute is not available? Just think of this. Substitute is not available. In that case, do you think the substitution is possible? Do you think the demand will change by such an extent? Answer is again no. Sir, any example for this? Right? What if I talk about, let's say, life-saving drugs? I can talk the same thing for essential, etc., etc. Life-saving drugs. Right? Or for that matter, let's say sanitizers during pandemic, mask during the pandemic. Right? So understand the logic here. If the substitutes are easily available, people substitute. Right? For example, you go to a restaurant, tea and coffee, both of them are available. Very easy for you to substitute. But what if a substitute is not available? Any example of this? Any example, right? Let's say vaccination. Or best example, right? You generally use in the household, salt, water for that matter, air for that matter. Right? So there are various certain concepts, or let's say certain commodities in the market, for which you generally don't find substitutes. You don't find substitutes. Right? In that case, substitution becomes very, very difficult. Law of demand may not be applicable to a certain extent there. Second, whether the good is essential or non-essential. I've already given an example, salt. You tell me, if the price of the salt goes up, will you reduce the consumption of the salt? Just think of it. If the price of the salt goes up, will you people reduce the consumption of the salt? No. Right? Whenever in the house the food is being prepared, they will not think, okay, price of the salt has gone up, let me reduce the amount of salt I'm going to put in the food. Right? So obviously no. So understand the logic here. Whether the good is essential or non-essential. Right? For example, let's say luxury product. If there is a luxury product, right? For example, you go to a restaurant, have food. That could be a luxury for you. You'll simply say, I don't have to go because the prices have increased. I'll prepare the food at home and eat. Or Ola for that matter. Prices are very high. It's a luxury. You will skip it. But on the other hand, food grains, rice, electricity, water. Do you think you will reduce your consumption if the price of the electricity goes up? If let's say the right, if the electricity bill goes up, will you reduce the electricity consumption? If water bill goes up, right, let's say by 50%, will you reduce the consumption of water by 50%? No, it will not take place like that. What is the impact on the budget? Right, the argument here is very simple. When I talk about budget here, I'm talking about expenditures of the household. Expenditure of the household. For example, let's say the price of onion goes up. Just think of it and just apply it in your household. Price of the onion goes up. Do you think immediately, underline the term immediately, do you think immediately the demand for the onion will fall? In your house, they will reduce the consumption of the onion? No. Generally, it will not take place. Why? I'll tell you. What would happen is, if the price of the onion goes up, the people will take certain time to realize that this will have an impact on their overall expenditure. Right? I hope you understand this. They will take time to realize, right, realize the impact of this rise in the prices on their overall expenditure. And when they realize that, okay, because of the onion prices, I'm not able to spend this much amount of money in a month, they will reduce the consumption of onion. They will reduce the demand for the onion. Next one, goods which have shorter shelf life. I've just given you an example, right? Perishable or shelf life, both are one and the same. Understand this. Those which are having a shorter shelf life are also referred to as perishable. Sir, what do you mean by shelf life? In simple terms, I'll use a substitute term here. Shorter shelf life, basically expiry date. I'm pretty sure, right? Just let's take an example here. I'm pretty sure all of you, whoever is basically, right, listening to the lecture, on the table you must have a water bottle, right? Let's say of Bisleri, etc. Or some of you will have, let's say, a juice bottle. Some of you have kept Britannia biscuits. And as I'm speaking, right, your mother or your father will come, give a chocolate and go to you. Go out of the room. Now, whatever it is, if you just look at the product, there is an expiry date, best before date. For example, if you're having a packet of biscuit, right, on that packet they would have written, consume it from 3 months from the date of manufacturing. What is the meaning of it? If it is manufactured on the 1st of January, from that date, for the next 90 days is the duration in which you're supposed to consume it. That is called as shelf life. That is referred to as shelf life. Right? Whenever the products are having very, very short shelf life, example, vegetables, green leafy vegetables, fruits, these are having short shelf life. As against, let's say, rice or wheat. Can you store rice for months together? Yes. Can you store wheat for months together? Yes. Can you store, let's say, palak for a month? Right? Again, don't say, sir, I've got the latest fridge, right? As shown in the advertisement, I can store it. Can you store, let's say, bangan, or for that matter, let's say, the brinjal for months together? But rice, easily you can store. So the argument is simple here. Those goods which have a very, very short shelf life, right? You may not basically look at the market price. You may not look at the supply, and based on that, you cannot take a call. Because if you start doing that analysis, the shelf life will be over. The product that you're having has lost its quality. Nobody will be purchasing it. Next, very, very rare articles such as paintings and coins. Let's say paintings, right? Let's say M.F. Hussain painting, right? Or for that matter, Mona Lisa, Da Vinci's painting, etc. Any type of very, very rare coins, or let's say vintage cars. Do you think they follow the law of demand and law of supply? Just think of it. Do you think they abide by the law of demand and law of supply? Again, the answer is absolutely no. Right? Absolutely no. They do not abide by law of demand and law of supply. And finally, future expectations. Interesting. Let me explain this. Future expectations. Now, what does the law of demand state? Just understand this. What does the law of demand state? Law of demand states that price is inversely proportional to demand. As the price goes up, demand should go down. Now, imagine you went to market today and you purchased onion. And the price of the onion or onion, whatever you want to call it, the price of the onion today was 30 rupees per kg. Right? You purchased 1 kg. Next week, again you went to the market. The price had increased to 35 rupees per kg. Now, just think of it and answer. When you look at this price rise, don't you think you will start calculating in your mind that from last week, this week the price has increased by 5 rupees. Going further, the price would further increase. That basically your analysis says next week it could become 40 rupees per kg also. Will you do this analysis or not? And when you do this analysis, what will you do? Rather than purchasing lower quantity of onion at 35 rupees per kg, will you not end up purchasing higher quantity than usual? Let me know if you disagree with me and tell me the answer as well. Right? What generally the future expectation means is the consumers in the market believe that in the coming days, the prices would further increase. And as a result of this, rather than purchasing normal quantity, they would end up buying higher quantity. Can this happen? Of course, yes. Do you think it is a following of the law of demand? You're following the law of demand? Again, the answer is no. Sir, any vice versa example of this? Opposite example. Let's say, last week, the price of the onion was 30 rupees per kg. This week, the price of the onion has fallen down to, let's say, 22 rupees per kg. Again, will you not think and say that next week it could further fall down to, let's say, 18 or 19 rupees per kg? So what you will do, rather than purchasing right this week, you will simply postpone your consumption to the next week. Will it happen or not? Let me know. Because this is what economics says will happen. People do that. If you don't trust me, just observe in your own houses. Right? Whenever the prices of certain commodities are going up, especially vegetables, your parents will start purchasing more than what is actually required. I'll repeat the statement. When the price of the essential commodities such as, let's say, rice, such as wheat, such as onion, when the prices will rise up, rather than following the law of demand, what parents would do is simply they will purchase more than required and they will start storing. That is actually what happens in the market. Right? So this is basically the application of future expectations, right, which will not be following the law of demand. Okay? Right? So these are certain exceptions to law of demand and law of supply. It also applies on gold and silver. Gold and silver is altogether a different commodity. Right? Please understand, gold and silver, the law of demand to a certain extent is applicable, but all the times the demand for gold and silver is not from us. I understand, I'm talking normal economy. There is a statement which says, sir, it is also applicable to gold and silver. My dear, the argument here is, if you talk about gold, how many of you know this? Gold is not purchased just by us. That is consumers. Gold is purchased even by the central bank. I'm giving you a current affairs point. Gold is purchased not just by us. It is even purchased by the central bank. Why? Argument is simple. Whenever the prices of the gold, whenever the other prices in the commodities, I'm supposed to say inflation, but I don't want to use that term. The investment on gold is always considered favorable for the economy. Right? That is the reason. Again, you don't worry. For that, again, I'm repeating it. You need to understand the concept of inflation. When I take up inflation, I will tell you. I will tell you why the demand for the gold changes in the market. I'll tell you, don't worry. Okay, today is the first class, don't worry. Okay. Next, concept of market equilibrium. Right? What is this idea for market equilibrium? Simple. So far, what we have discussed is law of demand separately, law of supply separately. Right? Some of you might be thinking, it doesn't make sense. Right? It doesn't make no sense whatsoever. Why? I'll tell you. Right? Some of you will basically look at this way. On one side, I stated that as per law of demand, as the prices go up, demand goes down. Done. And as per law of supply, I stated as the prices go up, supply goes up. You tell me, does it make a sense? As the prices go up, supplies goes up, but on the other hand, demand is going down. Does it make a sense? Argument is no. But again, please understand this. Again, what we have done so far, we have discussed law of demand separately. We have discussed law of supply separately. But what will happen if you bring both of them together? Right? If both of them are acting at the same point of time. Right now, I come to the market to purchase goods. You also come to the market to sell the goods. So on one side, law of supply is applicable, and on one side, law of demand is applicable. In this situation, what exactly will happen? Let's try and understand. So have a look at this. Whenever you bring both the law of demand as well as law of supply, right, basically this is how the representation is done. And before going forward, when I took the lunch break, I was basically going through some of the comments. One of the student had asked, sir, is the law of supply and law of demand curves always straight? Is it that they're always straight like I've shown in the graph? No. Right? If you see the law of demand and law of supply curves, these are not always straight. These are generally curved like this. You will see a law of, right, the demand curve curving like this, law of supply curve, right, or the graph curving like this. You will not have a straight line. Now you'll ask, sir, then why have you drawn the straight line? Please understand, when you have a look at the longer duration, maybe let's say 5 years, 10 years like this, and you draw the curve will not be, right, having a curvature like this. It will almost become a straight line. That is the reason we will draw the line right straight. But is there anything wrong if you draw rather than this? If you draw, let's say, I'll write it here. If you draw the law of demand like this, is it wrong? Absolutely no. If you draw the curve like this, is it wrong? Absolutely no. If you draw the curve straight line like this, is it wrong? Again, no. Different books, different experts will use different ways to represent it. You do not have to be worried. Now, let's look at it. I'm bringing both the law of demand as well as law of supply. So far what we have discussed, law of demand curve will move downwards. Law of supply curve will move upwards. Agreed? Now, just go back to our high school and think of this. If one line, straight line, or let's say a curve is moving downwards like this, and another line is moving upwards like this, can I bring in your high school knowledge and say, at one or the other point, they will intersect each other? If you disagree, let me know. Right? I'll repeat it again. One curve is sloping or moving downwards like this, and another curve is moving upwards like this. If two lines are moving in a different direction like this, until unless they are parallel to each other, they will have to cut or intersect each other. Now, this is exactly my point. When you have these two curves which are moving in opposite directions, they will cut each other, they will intersect each other. This point is called as market equilibrium point. Any doubts? Let me know. This point is referred to as market equilibrium point. There is an equilibrium in the market. What do you mean by equilibrium in the market? Right? Have a look at this. Point number one. If you look at this particular point, I'll use a different color so that you understand what I'm talking about. Can you see the red color dot now? Answer to my question. Can you see, right, the red color dot? Now, point, that is the first point. Second point, can I say that this red color dot is present in demand curve as well as supply curve? I'll repeat it. The red color dot is present on the demand curve as well as supply curve. But what does it mean? What does it mean? Simple. This red color dot represents equilibrium in the market. Equilibrium means what? Stability. Simple. Right? Class 11 physics. Gases are at equilibrium, etc., etc. There's a stability in the market in the sense this price represents a price at which sellers are willing to sell the goods in the market and buyers are purchasing the goods in the market. I'll repeat it again. This point which is on both the lines represent a price at which, right, the sellers are willing to sell the goods in the market, and the price at which the buyers are willing to purchase in the market. In simple terms, imagine it is 10 rupees. Let's say 10 rupees. The seller says, I will sell it at 10. And the buyer says, okay, I'll purchase it at 10 rupee. And because, right, both are at stability, that is, he sells at 10, he purchases at 10, this is also referred to as clearing price. This is also referred to as clearing price. In simple terms, when they are going to sell the goods, what is the quantity? Don't worry. They are going to sell it at 10 rupee. Buyers will also purchase at 10 rupee. So whatever goods are being sold, they are being purchased in the market. Hence called as clearing price. And if it is at this point only, right? If the market is at this point, nothing wrong. Buyers are coming to the market, purchasing the goods. Price is same as quoted by the seller. Seller says 10 rupees per unit. Buyer pays 10 rupees per unit. They will purchase it. Nothing wrong. Market is at stability. But simple question to you people. Do you think the factors that we have assumed earlier to be constant will remain constant? Just think of it and answer. Many of you ask me, sir, what factors are you talking about? If you remember, we discussed law of demand and stated all the other factors are constant. Discussed law of supply, again said all the factors are constant except price. Do you think all the factors will remain constant? Price of related goods, your taste and preference, your income, right? Or let's say taxation by the government. Do you think all of them will remain same? Of course, no. They will keep on changing. These factors are dynamic in nature. Now, next point is simple here. If these factors are dynamic in nature, will the price of the product change? Right? Already you know the answer. Will the price of the product change? Of course, yes. Rather than being at price P, let's imagine because of various factors, price has gone up to P1. Price has gone up to P1. Now you tell me, if the price goes up to P1, what do you think will happen to demand? Right now demand was D here. What do you think will happen to demand? Demand should go down. Is it okay? Demand should go down. So rather than D, the demand will go down to, let's say, D1. Now have a look at this. As the price will go up, demand will go down to D1. But on the other hand, as the price will go up to P1, you are a seller. Will you increase the supply or not? Will you increase the supply? Of course, yes. Because that is what the law of supply states. Right? When the supply goes up from D to, let's say, D2. From D to D2, if it goes up, then basically what happens? Supply in the market is D2, but the demand in the market is D1. Now, based on the numbers, can I simply say, or based on the picture itself, can I simply say, there is a surplus supply in the market. I'll repeat it again. Some of you are confused. Apply basic common sense, you'll understand it. If the price of the product goes up, what does the law of supply say? Law of supply says that supply should also go up. You are here in the supply, right? This was the D. Supply has gone up to D2. But on the other hand, what does the law of demand say? If the price of the commodity goes up, the demand should go down. So it is D1. Now, based on this picture, can I write it like this? D2 is greater than D1. Let me know if you disagree. D2 is greater than D1, meaning what? The quantity which is being supplied is greater than quantity which is being demanded in the market. Now, simple question to you, if supply is more than what is the demand, what will happen to prices? Think of it. If supply is more than what is the demand, what do you think will happen to prices? Prices automatically will start going downwards. Prices will start decreasing. That is what you will see. You will try to move towards the equilibrium all over again. right? That is exactly what will happen. But on the other hand, let's say prices will go down, right? Rather than prices going up, prices will go down. From P, I'll write it here. Let's say prices have gone down to P2, right? And when the prices will go down, you tell me, what does the law of demand say? Will the demand go up or go down with the lowering of the prices? Demand should go up. Does it make sense or not? Apply what you have learned, you'll understand. Demand goes up. Let's say from D2, right, it has shifted to new demand, that is D2. And as the prices will go down, what will happen to the supply? Supply will go down. Supply will go down, that is to D1. Now, based on this, again, same logic. Demand is greater than supply. At this point, that is the prices have gone down. Demand is greater than supply. You tell me, if the demand is greater than supply, what do you think will happen to prices? What will happen to prices? Prices automatically should start moving upwards. Prices should start going up towards the equilibrium again. This is how the market will behave. Is the logic okay? Let me know, is the logic okay? Right, so basically, because of higher supply compared to demand, right, there is a surplus supply, prices will go down towards the equilibrium. And on the other hand, if the prices go down, demand is higher than supply. As a result of this, prices will move towards equilibrium. This is basically how the market will behave, right, in reality. Because we assume that the factors are constant. Factors are not constant. The factors will keep on changing, resulting to changes in the prices. If the price of the good is high and the supply increases, what will the benefit of increased supply if there is no demand? That is the reason, my dear. Again, follow what I'm saying. Just understand what I'm saying. Law of demand states that as the prices go up, demand should go up. If you are going to sell or supply more in the market, demand is not there. Do you think that that will actually, right, give you better returns? No. Now you have realized, in order to earn higher profits, you have increased the supply, but there is no demand in the market. Will anybody purchase at, let's say, 50 rupees? Right? No. What you'll have to do? You'll have to reduce the price. I am telling you what actually will happen if you do that. Okay, right? So this is the concept of market equilibrium. Next, two terminologies important for UPSC preliminary examinations. One is movement along the curve. Second one is shift of the curve. I'll repeat it again. One is movement along the curve. Another one is shift of the curve. Now, before going forward, let me show you this graph. Just have a look at the graph. Why this is relevant? I'll give you a simple argument here. Before going to lunch break, I asked you, do you remember how these graphs are drawn? Basically, I asked you to remember your high school. That is, first I will find out what parameters, right? Let's say what variables I'll have to place along x-axis. Then against that, I will place variables along the y-axis, coordinates along x and y-axis. Then I'll start plotting. I'll connect the dots. I will get the graph. Right? Can you envision? Right? Is it okay if I assume that you already know how the graphs are drawn? I'm asking you a question. Please answer. Right? I'm simply asking a question. Do you know how this graph is drawn? It's a law of supply graph. I know that. But how the graph is drawn? Right? I'm pretty sure you all know. First, you know x-axis, y-axis coordinates, plot them and connect the dots. Now follow this carefully. Imagine I'm at this position. Imagine I'm at this position in the graph. This is x1 and this is y1. Sir, why x1 and y1? X-axis and y-axis. Simple. If I shift, right, let's say to this position, x2, and I'll call this as y2. Now, is it okay if I say this? Understand this carefully. Is it okay if I say this? When I shifted from this point to this point, I have moved along the curve. Let me know. I have moved along the curve. Any difficulty in understanding the statement? Or what do you say when you have shifted from, let's say, point 1 to point 2? Dhaval, why no? I'm using basically your high school language here. It's basically high school language. You are on this point in the line. You have shifted to this point again on the line. What has happened? You have moved on the line itself. On the line itself you have moved. Can I call this as moving along the line or moving on the line? Anybody is not understanding, let me know now itself, because it's basically the same language. High school language will apply here. Now, rather than this line, what if I draw another line? Right? I'll simply call this as supply curve 1, and I'll call this as supply curve 2. Right? Have a look at this. This is first line and this is another line. Right? There are two lines now. Now understand this carefully. Whenever you are moving on the same curve, I'll repeat, whenever you are moving on the same line, it is called as movement along the curve. On the line itself, you are either going up or you are going down. Why does that happen? I'll explain that. Wait. But in addition to one line you already have, one curve that you have, if you draw one more curve, one more line if you draw, this is called as shift of the curve. You will say that the curve is shifting this side. That is, I'll use a technical term. Curve is shifting to the left or curve is shifting to the right. Any difficulty in understanding, let me know, because I'll start applying the numbers now. You don't have to buy at numbers, but why does it happen? You will have to understand. So one is moving along the line, movement along the curve, and second one is the curve itself will shift. Right? The curve itself will shift. Now you'll ask me, sir, how is that possible? How can you say that the curve itself is shifting? Let me show it to you. I've given a table here. Let me show it to you. Have a look at this. Right? Imagine this is the first line. Okay, I'll draw it. Have a look at this. Follow this carefully. But before I draw it and show it to you, will UPSC ask you to draw a shift of the curve? Will they ask you to write the table? For example, this table. Should you remember it? Absolutely no. You can check 10 years question paper or 20 years question papers of UPSC. They will not ask you to draw the curve. Now let me start. Let's say this is right the first curve, that is the demand curve 1. I'll call this as a demand curve 2. Let me show it to you how we will basically draw it. Let me start with the original demand curve. Price of 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60. Okay, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60. Now at 20 rupees, what is the demand? I'll write numbers also here. 120, right, 140, 160, 180 and 200. Again, don't take a scale, start drawing, not relevant for right UPSC, they will not ask you. But I want to show to you how the shift will happen. At 20 rupees, right now, demand is how much? 180 units. First point will be here. At 30 rupees, it will be 160, right? Second point will be here. Third point obviously will come here. You can see the table here. Fourth point, right, will appear right somewhere here. And fifth point will appear somewhere here. Right, if I basically connect all the dots, I'll get a curve like this. Is it okay? Is the first curve okay? I'll call this as a demand curve 1. Any difficulty, let me know. I'll go to the second curve now. Now, some of you will simply say, sir, why the demand has changed? Right? Some of you will basically ask me, sir, why the demand has changed? Let me ask you a very simple question. What if, right, understand this, what if your income changes? Right now, imagine your income is 1000 rupees. Your income will shift to, let's say, 2000 rupees. Right? Income changes, price of the product does not change. Now, is it okay if I say, right, follow this carefully. First, your income has changed. Point number two, the price of the product has not changed. Third point, this is important. Despite the price of the product remaining same, at the same price, now you will be able to purchase more quantity of goods. Yes or no, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. Right, your income has changed, price of the product remains the same. Right, despite the price remaining same, you can purchase more quantity of the same product. Sir, how is that possible? Because you are earning more money. Simple, you are earning more money. That is the reason. Now have a look at this. Price of the product remains same. Imagine your income has increased. Will you be able to purchase 200 units? Of course, yes. Possibility is there. Right? Price of the product remains same, 30. Can you purchase more than the earlier quantity? Of course, yes. You will see exactly the same thing in all the 5 combinations that I've given here. Now take the same old price but new demand. Start plotting. I'll use a different right color now so that you understand. At 20 rupees earlier the demand was how much? 180. Now the demand will be how much? 200. Will the new point be here? 30 rupees 180, new point, right, will be here. 40 rupees 160, right, 40 rupees the demand is 160, the new point will be here. 50 rupees 140, the new point, 50 rupees 140, the new point will be somewhere here. And 60 rupees 120 rupees, the new point will be 120 units, the new point will be here. Now connect all the dots. Simply connect all the dots. Now question to you. This was old demand curve. This is old demand curve. And this is a new demand curve. Or you can simply write D2. As already mentioned here, you can simply write D2. Now have a look at this. Can I write like this rather than doing all of this circus? Rather than doing all of this circus, can I simply say that with the change in the income, with the rise in the income, the demand curve has shifted to right. Let me know. With the rise in the income, the demand curve has shifted to right. Any issues here? If you disagree, if you have a doubt, let me know. Right? Imagine earlier your income was 1000 rupees. Now the income has shifted to or has increased to 2000 rupees at the same prices. At 20 rupees, now you will be able to purchase more. At 30 rupees, more. 40 rupees, more, etc., like this. Now, if I take the new demand against the same price, you will see that the new demand curve would have shifted to the right of the old demand curve. This is called as shifting of the curve. Any issue? Let me know. Shifting of the curve. Sir, will it always shift to the right? Can it shift to the left? Of course, yes. Rather than income going up from 1000 to 2000, what if your income will fall from 1000 rupees to 500 rupees? You tell me. Rather than going from 1000 to 2000 rupees, what if your income will fall from 1000 rupees to 500 rupees? Now, don't you think the new demand, rather than being bigger than the earlier demand, will be smaller than the earlier demand? Is it okay? The new demand, for example, at 20 rupees, old demand is 180. Now, if your income has fallen from 1000 to 500, rather than remaining at 180, it could fall to, let's say, 100 units also. Now, if you do the same exercise for all, plot the graph, don't you think you will get the graph on the left side like this? Is it okay? So, understand the logic here. The curves have been drawn, but whenever a factor such as income taste and preference, the price of the related goods, etc. will change, the curve might shift to the left or curve might shift to the right. This is called as shifting of the curve. This is referred to as shifting of the curves. Done? Now, what is the concept of movement along the curve? I've already told you movement along the curve simply means you are at, let's say, this position. You are at this point. If the price of the product goes up, you will basically move up on the curve. If the price of the product goes down, you will move down along the curve. Again, understand the difference between both of them. It should be very clear to you when shift will happen, when the movement will happen. Is it okay if I say movement will happen only when price of the product changes? I'll repeat it again. Why? It should be very clear to you, right? I'll give an example. If the price of the product, or if only price of the product changes, you will see that you will move up on the curve or you will move down on the curve. Now, some of you simply say, sir, if the price changes, price of the product, of course, can we see shift of the curve? Now, you tell me, simple question to you people, is it possible? Is it possible? Right? Because understand this carefully. When you have taken the prices and the demand, you already know that if the price of the product, let's say, is 40, demand is 140 units. If the price goes up to falls to 30 rupees, you already know the demand will move up to 160. If the price goes up to 50, you already know the demand will fall down to 120. So if the price goes up to 50, you know that, okay, you will move from point L to point N. If the price goes up, if the price goes up from 40 rupees to 50 rupees, you already know that you will move from point L to point M. And if the prices fall from 40 rupees to 30 rupees, you already know that you will move from point L to point N. Any difficulty in understanding, let me know. All I'm trying to say is simply this. Whenever they talk about shift of the curve and movement along the curve, movement will happen only when the price of the product changes. Shift will happen if except price, any other factor changes. Any difficulty, let me know. This is important. Why it is slightly tricky. Questions have been asked by UPSC multiple times on this concept itself. I'll repeat it again. When the price of the product, right, when the price of the product changes, you will always move along the curve. And there's a question, can you show it along the supply line or a supply curve? My dear, I started with the supply curve itself. You already know the supply curve. Let's say price will increase from 30 rupees to 40 rupees. You will also, right, basically ramp up your supply from 120 to 140, already shown in the graph. Right? So whenever the price of the product changes, you will see movement along the curve. When anything else changes, taste and preference, taxation, right, or let's say the price of the related goods, you will not see movement, rather you will see shift of the curve. I hope you understand. You will have to see shift of the curve. Sir, how is that possible? Can't we see movement along the curve? Not possible. Why? Understand the logic here. In shift of the curve, price of the product does not change, but the demand changes. I hope you understand. I'll draw a line here so that you understand it. Let me know. Right? Let's say hypothetically, this is the point. This is the price right now. This is the demand. Right? Price P, this is the quantity of demand. Now have a look at this. When you talk about shift of the curve, you simply say that price does not change, but the demand changes. A simple question to you people, if the demand changes, price does not change, do you think you will remain along the line like this? Think of it and answer. Do you think you can remain along the line, on the line? Of course, no. If the price remains the same, either if the demand goes down, your point will shift to the left like this, or your point will shift to the right. So how can you remain on the line? I hope you understand this. I know coordinate geometry, economics, everything is a combination here. But for UPSC examination, should you understand to such an extent? Argument is no. Should you know how to draw the lines or let's say graphs taking the table? Absolutely no. What you should understand, there are two sets of terms. One is shift of the curve. Second one is movement along the curve. The movement along the curve, you will observe either in supply or demand curve, doesn't matter, when only the price of the product changes. Second, the shift of the curve will happen when the price doesn't change, price remains the same, but any other factor will change. It could be taste and preference. It could be taxation. It could be, right, let's say the income of the consumer. It could be price of the related goods, etc. Right, so remember, movement, price. Shift, except price. Except price, write anything. Now, two more terminologies related to this. Just make a note of this. This is where question has been asked by UPSC. Whenever you talk about movement along the curve, you use the term contraction and expansion. I'll repeat it. Whenever you use the term movement along the curve, you use the term contraction and expansion. Contraction of the demand, expansion of the demand. For example, have a look at this. If the prices have gone up from L to M, demand has contracted from Q to Q2. I am putting in the statement. Let me know if you disagree or if you're having a doubt. The price has expanded from L to M. Right, basically from P to P2 here. As a result of this, the demand has contracted from Q to Q2. Any disagreement? Any disagreement? If the price contract from P to P1, then the demand will expand from Q to Q1. So logic is simple here. Movement, use the term contraction, expansion. Contraction, expansion. But if you observe a shift of the curve, use the term increase or decrease. For example, in this case, at price 20 rupees, demand has increased to 200 units. At price 40 rupees, demand has increased to 160 rupees. At price 50 rupees, demand has increased to 140 rupees. So increase or decrease, shift of the curve. Contraction, expansion, movement along the curve. So this is an important point of discussion. I know it is slightly technical, but if you do not have any doubt, I'll go to the next one. Can I go to the next one now? If the price change, income change, the curve shift. No, my dear, please remember this. Price of the related goods, income, etc. changes, shift of the curve. If price changes, movement along the curve. Okay, now again you need to practice it a bit. You simply need to practice. The argument is simply this. Some of you are saying, sir, it is slightly confusing. It is confusing because you have forgotten your basics, not economics, but you're basically the coordinate geometry basics. For example, if I simply say the coordinate along the x does not change, that is what I was telling you earlier also. I had drawn a curve like this, and I basically said, imagine this is a coordinate from x-axis and this is a coordinate along y-axis. Right? Let's say P here and this is D here. I said that P does not change, but D changes. P remains the same, but the D changes, which means at this line itself, that is along this line, either the new point will be here or the new point will be here. Either it has to shift to the left or has to shift to the right. Basic coordinate geometry. And that is basically going to lead to a shift of the curve either to the right or to the left of the original curve. Right, that is basically geometry for you, right? So you'll have to remember that, right? So this is the discussion related to shift of the curve and movement along the curve. Who decides the prices? Market. Market will decide the prices. Whether the price is going to be higher or lower, market in the sense all the stakeholders, seller, buyer, etc. all of them decide the prices. Okay, and when I say decide the prices, influence, in simple term, influence. Okay, next I'll be discussing certain concepts now, right? The types of goods. Important, UPSC has asked questions on this. We'll go one by one. Let's start. First one is normal and inferior goods. Just follow this carefully. Normal and inferior goods. Let me ask you a simple question. Imagine everybody in India starts earning more income. Understand my example carefully. I'll ask you a question then. Imagine everybody in India starts earning more income. Now, simple question to you people. What do you think will happen to the demand for cars? Answer it. The income in Indian economy starts to increase. You start earning more, I start earning more, everybody starts earning more. Don't you think the demand for cars will increase? Simple. It will go up. Can I do the vice versa? Vice versa in the sense, if all of us start losing the jobs, or income is cut thanks to pandemic, what do you think will happen to demand for cars? The demand for cars will obviously start going down. Does it make sense or not? Let me know. Right, as all of us start earning more, we'll start purchasing certain goods more. And when all of us start earning lesser, we'll start purchasing some of the goods lesser. Please understand this carefully. I'm not talking about price here. There is no connection to price. I'm connecting what? Income with demand. Is it okay? I'm connecting income with the demand. Now look at this. Is it okay if I say that in this case, the income is directly proportional to demand? Let me know. Income is directly proportional to demand, or right, basically I'm trying to say income and demand will move in same direction. Income and demand will move in same direction. Any disagreement, any doubt, let me know. Because if you can understand this, understanding normal and inferior is very, very easy. Can I go to the next point now? Everybody, can I go to the next point? If you do not answer, I'll assume that you have understood it. Inversely, my dear, how? Inversely means opposite. Anushka, inversely means opposite. No, my dear. If income goes up, demand also goes up. How is it inverse? If both are moving in the same direction, positive relation, not negative, positive. Right? So have a look at this. Such types of goods where there is a positive relation between income as well as the demand are called as normal goods. Simple. Such types of goods where there is a positive relation between the income and the demand for the goods are called as normal goods. A change in the income will lead to change in the demand. But in what direction? Positive direction. Positive means the demand as well as the income, both of them are moving in the same direction. If income goes up, demand goes up. If income goes down, demand also goes down. Any example for this? I gave you one example, cars. Another example, refrigerator, TV, washing machine, etc. And please remember one more term here. Generally, the electronic goods. Generally, the electronic goods are called as white goods. Very often you will come across this in the newspaper. Generally, the electronic goods are referred to as white goods. Sir, why these are referred as white goods? Again, for that, you'll have to just go back, let's say by 1 or 2 decades. When earlier, let's say washing machine was manufactured, ACs are manufactured, right? Don't you think most of them are produced in white color only? I hope you understand. Most of them are produced in white color. That is a universal color, by the way. And that is the precise reason whenever you come across the term white goods in the newspaper, they are referring to electronic goods. Now, simple question to you people, if the demand for electronic goods or let's say white goods is increasing, can it be considered, at least most other times, not always, can it be considered to be a good indicator for the economy? Just think of it and answer. If the demand for white goods is rising up, can it be considered to be a good indicator for the economy? Not always, but generally, it should be yes. Answer should be yes. Why, sir? Why should I consider this as a good, right, let's say, indicator? If the demand for the white goods is going up, it simply means the incomes of the economy are also going up. Simple. Incomes in the economy is also going up. Right? Don't you want everybody to earn more income in India? Of course, right? Most of you will say, sir, I'm not worried about everybody. Talk about me. Right? That is a general conversation, but don't worry. Argument is simple. Sir, what is the relevant to current affairs? Keep on reading newspaper, you will come across these kind of articles. They'll say demand for white goods has fallen. Demand for cars has fallen. Right? Demand for two-wheelers has fallen. And you'll have to understand the meaning of the terminologies. Why? Between, let's say, four-wheeler and two-wheeler, which one do you think will be preferred by middle-class households? Lower income and middle class. Between four and two-wheeler, it should be two-wheeler. Answer should be two-wheeler. And if, and I'm pretty sure all of you know this, the size of the middle-class households in India is very high. The number of middle-class households in India are very, very high. So if there is a pandemic, if there is another wave, right, etc. like this, don't you think the newspaper will start saying the demand for two-wheelers has gone down? The demand for white goods has fallen down, etc., etc., etc. Do you agree with my statements here? Right? If you disagree, let me know. And most of you are asking me, right? I was just going through some of the questions. Some of you had asked, sir, what is the relevance of studying all of this microeconomics, right, in UPSC? My dear, this is how you understand everything. This is how you start understanding what is actually happening in the Indian economy. Okay. Now, what about inferior goods? Exactly opposite. Exactly opposite. In case of inferior goods, income and demand will move in opposite direction. Understand this. Income and demand are negatively related, inversely related, move in opposite direction. Sir, any example of this? Right? Have a look at the examples here. Right? Public transportation. Let me take a very common example, public transportation. If every one of us starts earning more, we would purchase a two-wheeler, we would purchase a four-wheeler, thereby reducing our dependency or the usage of public transportation. What is the public transportation? Government-run buses. Simple, government-run buses or railways, etc. So if everyone owns a car, everyone owns a two-wheeler, rather than going by, let's say, a public bus, would we not prefer using our own vehicles? Of course, yes. But that will happen when we are earning more and more income. What if I lose a job? Let's say hypothetically, let me make you happy. Imagine I'm removed from the job, which means I don't have a source of income. Now tell me, at this point of a time, will I start thinking of buying a new four-wheeler? Just think of it. Will I start thinking of buying a new two-wheeler? I'll simply say, forget about buying. Let me conserve the money. Let me protect my savings. But I want to move in the city. I want to go from point A to point B. Rather than using my own vehicle, which would be costly for me, will I not start using public transportation? Will I start going through metro? Will I start using more and more public buses? Answer is again, yes. right? So argument is simple here. In inferior goods, the connection is inverse, negatively related. Whereas in case of normal goods, connection is positively related. Now, before I go forward, I have drawn only one set of arrow marks here. Can opposite also be true? Let me know. Can opposite also be true? Income goes down, demand for this goes up. Income goes up, demand for these will go down. That is inferior goods. And understand that is the reason why I've used the term negatively related. Negatively related. Because UPSC will do this. UPSC will do this, you will get confused. Because in most of the books, right, most of the books don't even cover this concept. But anyways, generally, if you look at certain resources, they will simply say, if income goes up, demand goes down. Those are inferior goods, no doubt. But what if income goes down? Demand should go up. That is inferior goods. Can I go to the next one? Normal and inferior. Again, don't say, sir, same to law of demand and law of supply. Law of demand, law of supply, connection is between price, demand, price, supply. Here, there is no price. I'm talking about income, demand. That's it. Let me go to the next set. Giffen goods and Veblen goods. And remember this, these are another set of goods which defy the law of demand. They don't follow the law of demand. How? Let me start. Let me start with the second one here, Veblen good. Veblen good. In both the cases, that is Giffen and Veblen, as the prices will go up, the demand will go up. And again, as the prices will go down, demand will go down. Positive relation. I'll repeat, positive relation. Giffen good as well as Veblen good between price and demand. Now many of you will be confused. We'll go one by one, follow this carefully. Giffen and Veblen both defy law of demand. What does the law of demand state? As the price goes up, demand should go down, opposite direction. But in case of Giffen and Veblen, as the prices will go up, demand will go up. As the prices will go down, demand will go down. Now two things here, and we'll answer both of them. Follow the discussion, slightly technical but very interesting. Both are not one and the same. Both are referring to different sets of goods. I'll start with an example. Let's say jowar and bajra. Jowar and bajra, millets, right? Common cereals. And here, let's say Lamborghini car. Don't worry about the spelling, right? Or Rolls Royce. First and foremost, I have not yet discussed. Do you think both are one and the same? Both of the sets of goods are one and the same. Ragi, jowar, bajra are same as Rolls Royce, Lamborghini car, etc. If you think both are one and the same, then you basically do not have any idea what is the prices of both of the sets of the goods. Can I say that jowar and bajra, or for that matter ragi, are consumed by poor people? Now, before you start correcting me, before you start, because I know some of you have started reading the newspaper. Sir, but I've seen rich people consuming ragi. That is health conscious. Don't worry. Apply basic traditional knowledge here. Right? Let's say, imagine two people. Right? There is a farmer, poor farmer on one side, and there is Mr. Mukesh Ambani on the other side. You tell me which of the two you think will eat jowar? Which of the two do you think will eat bajra? Do you think Mr. Mukesh Ambani is concerned about it? Even he is thinking of it, about it. No, he's a very rich person. What about Lamborghini car, Rolls Royce car, farmer and Mr. Mukesh Ambani, right? And now I'm pretty sure all of you know what I'm trying to convey the message here. I said that in both Giffen and Veblen good, price and demand will move in same direction. they defy law of demand, then it doesn't mean both are one and the same. Absolutely no. Given good, right, are basically the good which are consumed by poor people. And Veblen goods are those goods which are consumed by rich people. Now, how does it happen? Right? Why does it happen? Let's try and understand. That's the second point. Let me start with the Veblen good. Now, imagine the prices of luxury cars start to go up. Right? Rather than 2 crore rupees, now the price is 5 crore. From 5 crore rupees, it is 7 crore rupees, etc. Now, don't you think if there is a rise in the price of these commodities like this, rich people will purchase more and more of these? I'll repeat it again. When the price of these will start going up, rich people will purchase it more and more. Why? Reason is simple. They want to showcase their status. They want to show to the society that they are very, very rich. And not everybody can afford these cars. I want to stand out of the crowd. The moment I go in a Rolls-Royce car, automatically my status will improve. Does it make sense or not? And because of all these reasons, these luxury products, if the prices are higher, the demand automatically will go up. Now, what if Rolls-Royce car, right, prices are normal ones or slightly higher than, let's say, some other goods? Do you think rich people will be preferring these kind of cars? Right? Argument is again no. So understand this carefully. Veblen goods are luxury products, not just normal luxury, high-end luxury, very, very costly products. And when these costly products prices will go up, there is a rising demand for this because certain class of people want to purchase it more because they represent their social status. They will basically make them recognizable in the society as ultra rich people. That is Veblen good. What about Giffen goods? What about Giffen goods? Interesting here. Understand this carefully. Giffen goods are very, very inferior goods. I repeat, Giffen goods are very, very inferior goods. But why is that? When the price will go up, demand for these goods will also go up. Why is that? Let me explain it. Follow this carefully. Imagine here is a house. I'll take the traditional example because Giffen is the name of an economist. What he observed was simple. Here is bread and here is meat. Again, before you start accusing me, right, or scolding me for giving an example of a meat, understand this. This is how he explained. I'm taking the same example. Bread and meat. And traditionally, right, if you look at, let's say, English times or let's say Britain, right, very, let's say 3 centuries ago or 4 centuries ago, the food that they consumed was basically a combination of bread and meat. Now, between bread and meat, can I simply say bread is an inferior good? Inferior good. Right? Basically, the one which is consumed by poor people. And if their incomes will start increasing, they will consume lesser of bread, they will shift to some other products. What the economist found was simple. If the price of the bread goes up, understand this carefully. If the price of the bread goes up, people would continue to consume more amount of bread. I'll repeat it again. Understand this carefully. What was observed was, as the price of the bread went up, the demand and consumption of the bread also went up. Now you will say, sir, this is wrong. It should not happen. Law of demand states that as the price of the bread goes up, the demand should come down. But if you remember, one of the things I told you about law of demand was, you should have easily available substitute. First point. You should have easily available substitute. Now tell me, what is a substitute to the bread? Let me know. What is an easily available substitute to the bread? Do you find any easily available substitute to the bread? Generally, you will not find. Somebody said potato, my dear. Right, basically combination is the bread and meat, or for that matter, you want to apply this logic in Indian economy. Let's say rice and dal. Right, rice and dal. What can you substitute rice with? Some of you are saying chapati. Interesting, but just think of it and answer. Just think of it and answer to me. Which one is cheaper, chapati or rice? Right? Again, think of it. Which one is cheaper, chapati or rice? Rice is obviously cheaper. So if I say that price of the rice goes up, that is the same argument. Price of the rice goes up. Do you have anything to substitute with? There is absolutely no substitute for you. Even if you want to shift to a substitute, it is much more costlier. What will you do? So what they will do is, despite the price of rice going up, they will start to demand and consume more and more of rice. Because understand this carefully. Now some of you will simply say, sir, if the price of the rice goes up, they should not purchase more rice. At least they should purchase the same amount of rice. If I were to give you a very simple analogy here, you don't have to learn to such an extent. If I were to give you a simple analogy, let's say you have 100 rupees. Out of 100 rupee, you can spend 80 rupees on dal and 20 rupees on rice. Price of rice goes up to, let's say, 25 rupees. Now, simple question to you people. At the same amount of income of 100, will you be able to purchase same quantity of dal? Think of it. Will you be able to purchase the same quantity of dal? Right? It will not be possible. Dal quantity will come down. But how do you, right, basically satiate yourself? How do you ensure that you have sufficient amount of food? For that reason, you will slightly increase the rice consumption. Right? Does it make sense or not? Let me know. For that reason, because you are not able to consume some amount of dal or same amount of dal, because obviously there is a pressure on the total amount of money that you have, what you will do is, right, you will not be able to purchase the same quantity of dal, reduce, but basically you will increase the consumption of rice, right, so that you will be able to have sufficient amount of food just to sustain, right, the day-to-day activities. Done? Right, so basically this is the reason why given goods are very, very inferior goods, and second, right, have a look at this. In case of given goods, as the prices go up, the demand will also go up. Sir, is the opposite applicable? Of course, yes. Opposite is also applicable, right? Basically, price goes down, demand also goes down. Right, this is a given good and Veblen good. Any doubts? Let me go, or should I go forward? Let me know. Right, any doubts here? Shall I go to the next set of goods? Given and Veblen goods. Chalo, next. Merit and demerit. Right, merit goods and demerit goods. Simple. I've discussed it earlier. I'll apply it. If you consume more and more of, let's say, tobacco products, if you consume more and more alcoholic products, is it good or bad? Right? Is it good or bad? There should not be any discussion here. It is bad. Is it just for you or people around you also bad? Right? Second question. Right? If you consume more and more, right, let's say alcoholic products, Saturday evening, right? See, I'm discussing alcoholic product now. Right? So if you consume more and more alcohol, is it good for you? Of course, no. Is it good for others surrounding you? Except for the government and the bar owner? Obviously, no. Right? For example, let's say, again, hypothetically, after the class, I have a lot of drinks. Hypothetically, that is very, very important. Don't write a mail asking me, sir, which brand did you take? Right? Let's say hypothetically, after the class, I go to a bar and restaurant, have a lot of drinks, again, hypothetically, and I'm driving my car, drunken driving, right? So is there a possibility that I'll go and hit someone? Is there a possibility that I will damage certain property, etc.? Possible. So understand the logic here. There are certain goods, consumption of which is not good for the whole society. consumption of this good is not good for the whole society. Such goods are referred to as demerit good. Demerit good. And there is a term called as externality here. Right? There is a term called as externality. Externality means basically the impact of one event on another. I'll give you example, you'll understand it. Externality means what is the impact of one event on the another. Can I give an example? Russia and Ukraine. Is there anyone in the class who says, sir, what are you talking about Russia and Ukraine here? I'm hearing about these two countries for the first time. Russia and Ukraine are fighting, or they are at war with each other. As a result of this, is Indian economy getting affected? Just think of it. Russia and Ukraine are at war. We are not involved with them. Right? We did not tell Vladimir Putin, right? Secretly, we did not tell attack. Nor did we inform Mr. Zelensky, don't give ground, fight with Russia. We are neither here nor there. We are simply saying we are going to watch. But because they are fighting with each other, are we getting affected? Answer is yes. Oil, crude oil has become so costly. One simple example. So understand this. One event having an impact on the other, that is called as externality. Any doubts? Let me know. One event having an impact on another, that is called as externality. Right now, whenever you have a demerit good, there is a negative externality. Right? It is not going to just affect me, it is going to affect somebody else as well. Consumption of tobacco products, consumption of liquor products, etc. But on the other hand, merit goods, the government actually promotes consumption of merit goods, right? Actually is involved actively in promotion of the consumption of merit goods. Don't ask me, sir, does it do same with the demerit goods? Government of India has never told you to consume alcohol. I understand this. Government of India has never produced an advertisement promoting more tobacco consumption. Right? Have you ever seen Government of India advocating more tobacco consumption? Government of India advocating more liquor production or consumption for that matter? Absolutely no. But let me give you another example there. Does Government of India promote or advocate good education system? Government of India, does it promote good healthcare system? So understand this, whenever there are merit goods, the consumption of this will provide positive externality. Positive externality meaning what? Not only I will get the benefit, others in the system will also get the benefit of this. Right? For example, if I start, right, or if I get very good education, I will get good job, I will be earning more salary, I'll be lifting my family out of poverty, I'll provide good education to my children, good nutrition to my children, etc. I will set up a company, I will provide employment, etc. So argument is simple here. With these, with the consumption of the merit goods, there is a positive externality. And on the other hand, with the consumption of demerit goods, there is a negative externality. Example of demerit goods, the concept of alcohol, tobacco. Merit goods, example is healthcare, education, etc. Okay. Sir, externality can be positive also. I've given an example. Externality can be positive as well as negative. It need not always be negative. Right? In the context of the alcohol, have a look at this. Again, don't by heart the table. Table is not required, by the way. Right? No way the table is required. Just to give you a glimpse of it. Many of you even in the first session asked me, sir, then why does Government of India allow the sale of tobacco products? Allow the sale of alcohol products? Reason is simple. Have a look at the amount of excise that the state governments are able to collect. Just have a look at it, you will realize. Right? Sir, should we by heart the table? Please don't waste your time. Please do not waste your time. And what is the relevance of this particular table? If you look at, a large percentage of the total revenues generated by the states is from the excise duties. Excise is basically the tax that is imposed by the government, state governments here, on the sale of alcoholic products. Is it okay? On the sale of alcoholic products, right? What is the amount of tax that is imposed? It is called as an excise duty. So the amount of excise duty that is collected by the states on imposing or on the sale of alcohol, that's very, very huge. And that is a precise reason. Two things here. That's a precise reason. Despite liquor being a demerit good, government doesn't ban it. First one. And second, we'll connect it to GST. Remember this. This is also one of the reason. Even today, there is no GST on alcoholic products. Is it okay? Right? Even today, there is no GST on alcoholic products. Remember that. Now, merit and demerit. Shall we go to the next one? Public and private. Public goods and private goods. Let's start. Sir, in exam, can we give example and just create our own example? Please try to give factual example as much as possible. Try to give factual examples as much as possible. Do not create your own example. Right? Okay. Next, public and private. What are public goods? What are private goods? Let me start. Public goods are non-rival, non-excludable. Again, there's a question on GST, not today. We'll take up when I'm discussing GST. That is my only concern. If I use a term GST, you will start getting worried about GST despite not realizing that this is the first class. Others may not know GST. Please hold on to your question. Later, please ask it. So public goods and private goods. Public goods are non-rival, non-excludable. I'll give you example. We'll have a discussion. Hold on. Private goods are excludable and rival. Let me start. Right? Can you see this particular flask? Everyone, start answering. Don't remain docile in the classroom. Don't remain inactive in the classroom. It's economics. Please participate. It becomes interesting for you. I know economics. I'm not doing this for myself, for you. Can you see the flask? Answer is yes, by the way. Now imagine you want to purchase this flask. You will go to the shop. You will purchase the flask. First point, will you pay money for this or not? First point, will you pay money? Answer is yes. If you don't pay money, if I'm the shopkeeper, I will not sell the flask to you. Simple. I will not sell it. I will not give the bottle to you. So first, whenever you talk about private goods, understand, whenever you talk about private goods, right, basically, in order to get the private good, you will have to pay money. Simple. You will have to pay money. If you don't pay money, you can be excluded from its usage. Excluded means you cannot use the product. Is the first point clear? Is the first point clear? I'm talking about excludability. I'm talking about excludability. You pay, you can get. If you don't pay, you will not be able to use it. Any doubts here? Right? That's the first point. Let me ask you a very simple question. UPI, do you think it is a private good? Just think of it and answer. UPI, Unified Payments Interface. All of you used it. All of you have used it. Right? Do you think it is a private good? Pranita says yes. Shrinu says it's private. Sundaresh says yes. My dear Devo, Gulam, yes. My dear, you're wrong. It is not a private good. Tell me how it is private good. Did you pay any amount of money to use UPI? How many of you have used UPI and paid money for it? You do not have to pay any money to use UPI. Please check if somebody is charging amount to you, they are wrong. You on usage of UPI, you're not supposed to pay any money. I think it should be very clear to you. If you want to use UPI, you don't have to pay any money for it. For example, you will use, let's say, Canara Bank UPI to transfer funds. Do you think Canara Bank will charge money to you? If they have done it is wrong, my dear. Please check it very carefully. Done? So, private good, one is excludable. Let me go to the second point here. Imagine I'm the shopkeeper. there are 10 bottles. You have come to me and you will purchase one of the bottles, flask by the way. Now simple question to you. Out of 10, if you purchase one, can I now say that the availability of bottle in the market has gone down? I'll repeat it again so that you understand it clearly. You came to the shop, there were 10 bottles, you purchased one of it. So now in the market, how many bottles are there? 9 bottles. Which means the consumption of the good reduces its availability in the market. Nobody else is allowed to consume this particular product now. Any doubts here? That is, you have purchased the bottle, only you can use the bottle. I hope you understand. I'll give you another example. Car. Right? Very simple example. Car. You have gone to the showroom. You have paid 10 lakh rupees. You have purchased the car. You have parked it in front of your home. Who will use the car? Who will drive the car? You or anybody who, right, to whom you have given the key. If you have parked the car in front of your home, I come, take away the car. Right? Do you think that is legal? It's basically theft. Right? I can be charged under the Criminal Act. So argument is simple here. You purchase, you pay the money, you purchase the product. That is first point. Second, once you purchase the product, right, this usage of the product is left to you. I cannot use the product. You can use the product. Right? The availability of the product for usage to me, it is not there. Only you can use the product. That is basically, right, the rivalry feature. I have purchased this flask, only I can use the flask. Or somebody to whom I have given the flask, they can use the flask. Right? So the usability of it is limited. Everybody else cannot use it. Agreed? Any doubts? Let me know. Right? Any doubts here? So one is rival means consumption of this good prevents others from consuming this good. Right? I'll give you an example so that you understand it. Imagine here is a park. This is a park. You are jogging in the park. Right? You are jogging in the park. Now tell me, only you are allowed to jog in the park. Can anybody else along with you enter the park and also jog in the park? Can also walk in the park, etc. Right? Is it possible or not? Right? It's a park. Anybody can come in, anybody can go out. So argument is simple here. Whenever there's a good for which you have paid money, right, you will have it. And the usage is just restricted to you or anybody else who is associated with you. These are called as private goods. These are referred to as private goods. Any example? Your mobile phone. Or rather than saying your mobile phone, your this, your that, just right, rotate your head in 360 degrees. Again, not literally. Don't try to do it literally. You're not an owl. You will not be able to do that. Right? Just turn left, just turn right. You will see hundreds of goods in your room. All of these are private goods. All of these are private goods. Let me take exactly opposite to this, public goods. Let me go to the exact opposite of this, public goods. Right? Same. You have taken your car, right, or you're walking on a road. Of course, let's assume the road is empty. Don't say, sir, I'm walking on the road. What if a bus will come? Of course, the bus will come, hit you and go. That is how the public transportation actually works in India. So have a look at this. You're walking on a road. Now that road belongs to everyone. Everyone in the sense, every taxpayer has paid money. They have the access to road. Along with you, can I also walk on the same road? You are standing under a street light. Can I also come and stand under the street light? So argument is simple. First, you don't have to pay money to purchase this good. And second, understand this. Second one, consumption of this good by you still is available for others also. You are consume the good, along with you, others are also consuming the same good. These are called as public goods, which are non-rival, non-excludable. Is it okay? So I'll repeat it again. Private goods are rival, excludable. Public goods are non-rival, non-excludable. But let me focus on certain specifics here. Sir, for roads, we are paying a toll plaza. I'll come to that. Just give me some time. I'll come to that only. I knew some of you will try to do permutation combination here. For that reason, I've brought another classification here. Right? So far, we have understood private goods and public goods. Right? Private goods are rival, excludable. Public goods are non-excludable, non-rival. But many of you will do the permutation combinations, or in this case, what is that? In this case, what is this, etc., etc. For this reason, there is two more classifications: common goods and club goods. Common goods and club goods. Common goods are non-excludable but rival. Club goods are excludable and non-rival. Let me take examples and show it to you. Public library, specifically in a public library, let's say book in a public library. Okay, book in a public library. First point, do you need to pay money to enter a public library? Just start answering. Do you need to pay money to enter into a public library? Answer is no. Can I call it as non-excludable? Can I call it as non-excludable? Anybody can enter, anybody can use the public library. You don't have to pay any charges. But imagine there is one book in the public library. You have gone to the library, you have taken the book, you have started reading the book. I also come to the same library. I am also searching for the same book. Now, simple question, assuming there is only one book, is it available to me when you have already used it? When you're reading it, is it available to me? Answer is no, by the way. Any doubts, let me know. Because you are using the product, you are reading the book, it makes the product unavailable to me. Can I call this as a rival? Let me know. If you have a difficulty, let me know. Rival means you are using it, it is not available to me. Simple. It is not available. So you are using the book, which means that is not available to me. It reduces the availability of the product for me. So can I call a book in a public library as a common good or not? Now, is it okay? Can I go to the next one? Right, a book in a public library is a common good. Club good, electricity, or for that matter, let's say Netflix account, Amazon account. Most of you will agree with me now. Right, Amazon Prime, by the way, not just an Amazon Prime. First question, do you need to pay money to get a Netflix and Amazon Prime account? Start answering. Do you need to pay money, at least let's say Netflix, at least Netflix? Do you need to pay money or not? Yes. So can I call this as excludable? Right, done. But imagine you're using Netflix account, you're watching a TV series, right? Whatever it is, don't worry. You're watching a TV series. At the same point of time, can I use my Netflix account to watch that same TV series? Same episode, same time, let's say. Somebody says no. Sunil, my dear, then you don't know how the Netflix actually works out. Right? Yes, it is possible. Or else, the best example, all of you attending the class. What can be the best example than this? All of you attending the class. Right? Let's say 3 students have purchased the product. Can all the 3 avail the same class at the same time? Right? Have a look at this. Right? Is it non-rival? Of course, yes. Excludable? Yes. Is it non-rival? Again, the answer is yes. Right? So these are called as club goods. Okay, so excludable, rival, private, non-excludable, non-rival, public, non-excludable, rival, common, and excludable, non-rival, club. Now, based on whatever product you want to classify, have a look at it and classify. I hope you understand. Whatever product you want to have a look at, whatever services you want to have a look at, you classify. So railway services provided by the government, where it will come, put it now, right? Excludable, yes, right? Rival, yes, right? Where it will come, right? So understand the logic here. Based on the features of the product, you decide whether it is provided by the government, provided by the private. You don't worry, that is public sector, private sector. You're not talking about sector, you're talking about product, public good and private good. Okay, let's start. Right, another set of goods, intermediary goods and final goods. Intermediary goods and final goods. Defense, sir, where does defense fall? My dear, you tell me. Do you have to pay money to government of India to get defense? Now some of you people will simply put an argument, sir, but I pay taxes. Then does it mean that the government will provide defense only to the people who pay income taxes, not to poor people? Just apply logic, right? Just apply logic, right? So our argument is simple. Taxes don't count. That is your contribution, not a payment, contribution. I don't know how many of you have seen the ads which are put out by the government of India regarding taxation. They say that is your right contribution for the growth of the economy. It is your contribution for government doing good for the poor people, etc. So defense basically it's a public. It is it cannot exclude anyone. Everybody in India will get defense. And defense, it is available to me, doesn't mean that you do not get access to defense. Everybody can get access to defense. Law and order, defense, street light, roads, etc. All of them are public goods. Okay, let me go to the next one. Intermediary and final goods. Final goods are those goods which are available for consumption in the market. And whenever I use the term consumption, do not take the literal meaning of the consumption. Is the logic okay? I'll keep on using the term consumption multiple times. Consumption, do not literally assume eating. No. If you use a product, that is also called as consumption itself. Okay, so understand this carefully. Final goods means the goods which are available for consumption in the market. Right? For you it is available, for me it is available, etc. Whereas intermediary goods means these goods are available which will be used for further production. I'll repeat it again. You will be confused in a minute. I know that. Follow this carefully. The final goods, the goods which are available for consumption. Intermediary goods are goods which are used as raw materials. That is important. Which are used as raw materials in producing another good. Can I give an example? Can you see this particular flask? Right? Is it visible? Of course, yes, it is visible. Right? Sir, no, it is not visible. My dear, it is visible. Right? So understand this carefully. This flask you purchase from the market, I will purchase from the market. Can we use the flask, right, for consumption? Consumption means, can we use the flask to carry water? Of course, yes. It is a final good. But have a look at this very carefully. Right, have a look at this very carefully. In order to manufacture the flask, steel has been utilized. Is it okay? In order to manufacture the flask, steel has been utilized. The steel is an intermediary good. Any doubts? Let me know. Right, the steel which is used to manufacture the flask is an intermediary good. The flask which has been used here or which has been manufactured here, which you will purchase, I will purchase, that is a final good. So final good is a good which is used or which is available for consumption. Intermediary good, it is a good which is used as a raw material to produce another good. Right, value is added, then another good is manufactured. Right, that is intermediary good. Right, so this is intermediary, this is final. Now the confusion that generally students have, right, the final goods are divided into two parts: consumption and capital. Final goods are divided into two parts: consumption and capital. For example, earlier we have come across the term capital goods. What is a capital good? The capital good is nothing but the good which is used for, the asset which are created. Capital goods are nothing but the assets which are created in a particular economy. I'll take an example, machinery. Now please understand this. A machine is used to manufacture a good. For example, this flask has been manufactured by a machine. Please understand this carefully. Machine is not an intermediary good. Machine is a final good. Is it okay? I'll repeat it again. A machine has been used to manufacture this flask. Machine is not an intermediary good. It is a final good. Right, sir, what is the issue here? We are getting confused. Machine is also used in manufacturing. Steel is also used in manufacturing. What is the difference here? Have a look at this particular product. Is the product made out of steel or made out of machine? Let me know. Right, made out of means what is the product made out of? Right, if I basically break the product, what you will get? You will get steel. Or, right, is there anyone who says, sir, if you break the product, machine you will get? So argument is simple. Intermediary goods are present in the final good. Is it okay? Intermediary goods are present in the final goods. Machine is not present in the final good. Steel is converted into final good. Machine is not converted into final good. So this is the basic idea. Machine is a final good, right? Steel is an intermediary good. Okay, right? So these are some more types of goods. Substitute, complementary, already we have taken care of it. Right, so next one is elasticity, which I'll take up after the break. Right, we'll take up concept of elasticities right after the break. Now, before I take up the break, let me address certain questions. A good may be intermediate and final good. It ends decided. Absolutely correct. Ananya, right? And I believe you already have the knowledge about economics. Absolutely correct. Whether a good is an intermediary good or a final good depends upon the person who is actually consuming it or using it. I'll give an example. If I give an example, let's say if I write milk, right? Let me see. If I write the term or a name of the product milk here, right? Let me see. Is milk a final good and intermediary good? What is it? Is milk a finally good or an intermediary good? It cannot be decided. Understand this. It cannot be decided. Milk used by, let's say, a restaurant. Milk used by a restaurant, it is an intermediary good. Milk used by a house, it is a final good. So have a look at this. Right? It depends on context of usage, where we are using it, for what purpose we are using it. Right? That will determine whether this product is an intermediary good or a final good. Intermediate and raw material, where it is a fit in a factor of production, maybe it's on land. Again, it doesn't depend on this. It could be part of the capital also. It could be part of right, this also land generally, but most of that will fall on land itself. You will get all the raw materials within the land. Okay. Economics optional. My recommendation is, if you have a very good knowledge about economics, only then think of taking economics optional. And when I say knowledge of economics, if you are a graduate in economics, please don't be fooled by the interviews given by the UPSC toppers. Please don't be fooled. Take it as an advice from my side. Somebody will say economics, my optional was economics. I was able to score, let's say, more than 300 in my optional paper. Don't be fooled by that. They would be, right, let's say PhD holders in economics. They would be experts in economics. That is the reason they take economics as an optional. You feel, right, let's say, sir, difference between normal good and inferior good is very easy. Right, I understood law of demand, very easy. My dear, we have barely scratched the economics. I understand, we are barely scratching, and you don't have to be worried. It's like an onion. You don't have to get into, let's say, 5th or 6th layer in an onion. For GS paper, the first or second layer is more than sufficient. Right? That is a precise reason. Don't worry about economic optional. If you have a background in economics, expert in economics, only then take it. If not, my sincere suggestion to you, stay away from economics. GS paper, more than sufficient, get good marks there. Take up some other optional paper. What is durable and non-durable? Right? The durable goods are those goods which are consumed over a longer duration of time. Simple. For a longer duration. TV. Will you purchase TV every week? No. Right? The TV is purchased maybe for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, like this. Car. It's a durable good. Washing machine. Non-durable, basically, let's say bread. Right? That is purely consumption. Right? Bread you will not purchase and eat it after, let's say, 1 year. Right? Then nothing will be there. You will be eating fungus. So I have to understand this. Intermediary good is used to produce a final good. Yes, that is absolutely correct. So in Nitin Singhania book, it is written that capital good is intermediary good. No, as far as I know, capital good is a final good. It's a machine. Machine is not an intermediary good. It is a final good. Toughest subject. Not toughest, I'll tell you the reason. Somebody might have not read, let's say, history, might have forgotten history. But again, I'm not trying to put on a subject of history, right? Important subject for UPSC, no doubt. But learning history is not difficult again. Right? Let's say learning geography is not difficult. But in economics, theories are there. Concepts are there. Right? That is the reason students feel it is difficult. I'm not saying it is difficult. Students feel it is difficult because they are getting the exposure for the first time ever. Okay, so let's take a break now. So 5:50, I'll start at 6:10. I'll start 6:10. Okay, I'll start the next session at 6:10.